Welcome to the Voice for Dads podcast.
What's happening, everybody? As you can see here, I've upgraded. I've got myself a new studio. Nah, I'm only kidding. I'm sitting here with a guy here. His name's Scott, and it's Voice for Dads. And what we've done is we've done a bit of collaboration today with Scott, and he's got a fantastic studio up here. Don't want to give away the location. Am I allowed to give away the location, Scott?
But in the Shire.
Aye, so
in the Shire.
Near there. I seen these guys about, I want to say about a year. When did you start your channel up?
A year ago, just under a year ago.
So I seen you guys a year ago, and as soon as I seen it, Scott, it totally aligned with me. And I'll maybe dive into why it aligned with me. But I seen you guys a year ago, and I've kind of been following, to be honest with you. And again, like I said, we've done this as a collaboration, like the Bring Your Noise podcast with Voice for Dads.
Aye.
And we can get into a wee bit. I know you can't talk about everything that's went on, but we can have a good discussion and talk about, you know, what your plans are for the future for this channel. But do you want to give yourself a bit of an introduction, mate? Tell everybody, maybe give a background, and then tell how this all came about.
Aye, absolutely. So I can't talk much about my own situation. That's just now. I'm still, going through the process that too many dads in our country are going through. So I can't speak much, but that's only for now. That will come a time where I can shout for the rooftops about that. But Voice for Dads gets started because it was started by myself because basically my daughter held from me. But not only does that happen with me and my daughter, it happened when I was a child. So the fact that I went through this as a child and now going through this as an adult, and I can see that nothing's changed in 30 years, well, that something needs to change. Something needs to change. So started Voice for Dads, started doing podcasts, started doing in-person meets, events, and to raise awareness. And it's just kind of growing arms and legs. So we kind of just give a platform to dads who are struggling to have a decent relationship with their children.
Yeah, it's a horrible situation, isn't it? That, we've got people that are in relationships, and then because the mother and father can't get on, it seems to be that it's one-sided when it comes to the courts. And it comes down to the fact that you're talking like 999 out of 1,000. This is the men that are on the brunt of it and having to fight to see their kids. It does happen to women as well, but most of the time it's men, and having to beg to see their kids, spending tens of thousands of pounds to see them a couple of hours a month. Out of curiosity, how much have you paid so far?
I can't go into specifics, but I could have bought a house.
Mm-hmm.
So I could have.
So you've obviously, you can't go into specifics because obviously, but this is obviously, I would imagine, destroyed you. Now, I will talk about me because, again, I feel this is something that has to be talked about.
Mm-hmm.
I think it is great that you're doing this. I think it is fantastic that more men are going to start to speak up regarding this, and I'm hoping that a lot of people do see this channel and people start to collaborate. And then I always say power in numbers, Scott. I always say the change will
Absolutely.
Power in numbers. And since you've been doing it, how many people have been reaching out?
I'd say there's definitely hundreds of dads that we've spoken to, whether that be on social media, emails, in person. I'd say as members, like joining Voice for Dads, coming to our in-person meets, supporting us regularly. We've got a lot of members, as in like probably a good consistent 50 or so. But that needs to keep growing. It shouldn't keep growing, but it needs to, because we need to help as many as we can. We want to help dads by giving them a voice, letting them know that they're not alone. But more important than anything, is helping kids, innocent kids. Thousands of innocent kids that are in situations that they never asked to be in.
Yeah. Well, I will dabble in it. I will talk about it. So this happened to me, Scott. Not many people know that. Was in a relationship. Wasn't a great relationship, not going to lie. people wrote things about me which aren't true. And to cut a long story short, off the back of lies, I had 2 kids. And my ex-partner decided one day, because I took my kids to the zoo and somewhere else, basically one day we received a text message to say access denied. And at the time I thought, you can't do this. You really can't do this, and I didn't really think it was going to be as serious as it was, and I had to walk away from the kids. And the reason being is because it played on my mental health. My ex-partner tried to do a lot to destroy me. A lot of people who know me and know where I come from, they know that what people try to make me out to be was totally not true. And I've showed you paperwork, Scott, remember?
Yeah.
And the paperwork says a lot different. And I remember when I was going through this, I was lost. And I went to a lawyer. And I was sitting there, so, I'm kind of lost at how this can happen. How can a female just turn around and say, you're no longer going to get to see your kids, right? Now, unless I was a threat to my kids, which I never was, I'd be interested to see if my kids ever see this podcast for them, because they're at an age now. I'm interested to see if they can turn around and actually say, you know what, he was this, that, and the next thing. But when this happened, I was just totally lost. So I went for advice from a lawyer who were like a charity, or they helped fathers in this case, because I knew a lot of guys that went through this.
Yeah.
And even the guys that I knew that were going through it, they turned round to me and they said, this is going to be the hardest 5 to 6 years of your life. And I went, what do you mean? He went, you're going to be taken back and forward to court, letters going back and forward, and he says, and every letter they send out, you need to pay for, right? So I went to this lawyer guy, and the lawyer, basically, we sat down and he said, right, we can help you represent yourself, but he says, you better have a hell of a lot of deep pockets. He says, you better have 20 grand plus. And again, he said the same, 5 years plus. Now, I went in and I sat down with the guy, and he turned round to me and he basically said, I was ranting, right? So I was saying, right, I'd pay for this, I'd do this, I'd take the kids, I do everything, my family's really good with the kids. My mother, who's absolutely devastated over this, a grandmother's been robbed of her 2 grandchildren. And I ranted for about a good 10, 15 minutes. And the guy turned round to me and he basically just said, see everything you've just said there, son? He says, I agree with it. But he says, see in the court of the law. And he says, see in the eyes of the law. He says, do you want to know what you are? You're a fucking sperm donor. And I was sitting there going, what do you mean by that? He went, you're just a sperm donor. You're just this, that, and the next thing. And I think it got to the point that we were trying to do it the correct way, but by law, they send out one letter, they can ignore it. It's cost you a fortune. They send out a second letter, they can ignore it. By the third letter, they need to, this is my understanding, I don't know if it's 100% true, but by the third letter, they then can write back. But even at that, it's going to be long-winded, because let's be honest here, the lawyer who's going to represent them is going to kick us down the road as much as possible. And for me, it was very dark. It was the worst time I was going through. I was going through a hell of a lot at the same time. And because, I don't claim I was a saint, Scott. I don't think anybody does. But I tell you one thing, I was never a bad father. I was a good father. And
I hear that quite a lot. So I do some ridiculous, pointless comment about the parents fighting, or he done this to me, he done that to me. Doesn't matter. Why should the children suffer?
yeah, I mean, I seen you actually put something up as Judge Judy.
Mm-hmm.
I think I've seen that clip hundreds of times.
Aye.
And I don't know if it's the same one, but she's said it to multiple people. And it's the mother hates the father. Hates the father. You can say what you want about the father. The father's this, the father's that. At the end of the day, you still decided to have a child with that man. And the fact that you want to try and rob that man of the taking, like you said, the family, the children still need their father.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like you, mate, I was brought up. My dad and my mum and dad split up very young age, and you kind of do need that father figure, and I've experienced that myself. I've got a son and a daughter. You know, your daughter you protect, your son you try and raise to be a man. You know, you guide on that. So, yeah, I mean, this is it's dark. It's a horrible subject. It's crazy that we have to. This is what needs to be done, and I wish there was something like this around when I had started my journey with this, because maybe I wouldn't have thrown the towel in so much.
Mm-hmm.
But the reason
my dad said that. You know, my dad said that 30 years ago. He wished there was something like this.
If there was, I would have maybe had more support.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm pretty sure you guys. I mean, we can talk about what you guys are planning in the future regarding, you know, if you're going to do community events and stuff where fathers go and talk, because there'll be so many men out there this is happening to, mate. It's happening all the time, and it's frightening. It's just sad. It's so sad,
but it's such a serious nature as well. I mean, this topic kills folk, literally kills folk every week. I'm doing an interview, doing a podcast in a couple of weeks with a woman whose son's no longer here. You know, her granddaughter is never going to know who her dad was. This kills guys every week.
It's not that. It has so many knock-on effects. So, for example, what you said there was it does. Guys are on. I don't know what you can say on YouTube. You know, if you can say the S word, you know, they're taking their own life.
Mm.
Not only that, they're robbing grandparents of a grandchild. Not only that, it's. I mean, we spoke before. And this, I'm pretty sure, has affected you in regards to any relationships for you going forward. And again, it was the same for me, you know, to try and trust a woman again. To try and trust anyone that, you know, for you know that all they need to do is pick up a phone and then that's it, you're accused of something. And then, you know, it's just madness, mate.
It is. It really is. And the knock-on effect is huge, that ripple effect. So it's not just the dad, it's the grandparents, it's the cousins, the aunties, uncles, friends. You know, so many people it affects. And other kids, you know, like I've got a niece, you know, who's not seen her cousin, that she adores. Like, adores. She's not seen her for years. You know. It's awful. The damage it's doing to her. It's sick, and I won't stop until these people get held criminally responsible.
When you say these people, what do you mean by that? Just
any parent that abuses their children, who doesn't put the children first, who alienates them from the other parent, who thinks it's acceptable to hold or remove a child from the rest of their family. Sometimes not just 50% of the family, it could be 80% of the family. Most of my daughter's family is my side, and she's not seen them in years.
Mm-hmm. So it's the thing, you're they're stripping the child away from having a really good childhood. Mm-hmm. Because let's say it, right, you move on, you meet somebody else, she moves on and meets somebody else, right? They're going to have that best of both worlds. They're going to have, I know that doesn't sound great to some people, you know, two birthdays, 2 Christmases, but that child will still get that 50-50 split. And that's what frustrates me. Because, like, my kids have probably lost out on so much, you know, lost out on holidays and everything else, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And it pains me, it absolutely pains me, the fact that, you know, these kids, and to be honest with you, I know for a fact that my daughter hates me. I know she does. She told me to not never speak to her again. I've tried to reach out. I've tried on multiple occasions, and it's
She won't
funny.
even know you though. Or
No,
does she won't even know why she hates you.
Well, she will, because she'll be getting a one-sided narrative.
One-sided narrative, but then when it gets to the actual crux, that's what I had when I was a child. I hate my dad. Couldn't tell you why though. Couldn't tell you why. Then you grow up and realise, you go, wait a minute, I was lied to. You know, and it flips. And that's why any young person, I've met quite a lot of young people through this whose dad we've been talking to, or they've reached out. You know, I've met quite 18-year-olds, 20-year-olds, and I've actually spoke to them. They're like, you haven't been told the truth.
No.
You don't know the truth.
Well, I'll tell you, right, again, look, this happened to me when I was younger, right? My mother and father split up, then my mum remarried, and I had a stepfather, then she split up with him, right?
Mm.
Now, again, I did resent my father. I do say it, you know, I do think that there was certain things said to me to make me hate my father. My dad came back into my life at 15-year-old, 16-year-old, right? And see, when I met him, I didn't hate him. I got to know him. I got to know him for 5 years, and then he passed away. 20-year-old, my father passed away. And that frustrates me as well. Now, again, I don't claim that my father's a saint or anything like that, but those 5 years I got with him, it was actually annoying, because when I met him, you know, like, you're 15,
Mm-hmm.
and then you kind of reach an age where, you know, I was seeing him like every week at one point, and then I want to say when you hit the 17 mark, you start driving, you start hitting the town.
Right, parents aren't cool.
Aye, and then you know, so I kind of didn't see him as much when I hit my 19 to 20.
Mm-hmm.
And then one day I get the phone call, boom, he's dead. Dead, heart attack. So although my kids may hate me, or anybody whose children are listening to this, and you think you may hate your father or hate whoever, how can you hate them when you don't know them? You're only getting told stories,
Mm-hmm.
which in my opinion can be fabricated stories. And then when you build that relationship, and I wish I could say that to my daughter, I says, what would you do if I actually died tomorrow? You'd regret it. I know they'll regret it.
Mm-hmm.
I know for a fact that my kids will regret never ever getting to know me and I've got a heart condition. I've got all these issues going on. And you know, I watch my kid on TikTok. I can only find my daughter. I can't find my son. And I watch for a distance, and it's fucking heartbreaking, mate. You know, the last time I seen her, she was, I want to say 10-year-old. Something like that, you know what I mean? Like 9, 10-year-old. And I used to talk to her on TikTok, and it would be like, we'd be talking. We'd talk, right? And it was like normal, how are you? How's your brother? How you getting on? Boom. Blocked. Are you telling me that my daughter's been talking to me all fine and dandy, and then all of a sudden she just blocked me? Who do you think's controlling that?
Exactly. And anything your daughter or son might believe of you is only because they've been told a lot of lies. So they've, you know, they don't know you. But I'm hopeful that they are like me in the sense that they grow up, become an adult, and go, actually, I'm going to ignore what I've been told and go and find out myself for the truth, because that's what needs to happen. And there's thousands of guys like you, unfortunately. There's two things that I've kind of focused on recently that I think are worth mentioning. One is Papa. You'll see Papa on online, on Facebook and all the rest of it. It's people against parental alienation. They're a group that was started up by Simon. I've lost his surname at this moment, I can't think. They're doing loads of work when it comes to people against parental alienation, and it's really good. But they put a thing out a few weeks ago about making a register and people that could be added to the register as alienating parents, right? One thing I thought was great, the way they put it out is they're still working on it. I totally get it. It's going to take a while, so it is. That's papa.co.uk, aye. So that's him there. That's the boy that started it. So I follow them. He does a lot of good work, so he does. But when I seen that register idea, I thought, jackpot, that's what you need. You need a register, something that people can get added to be shown for what they are. And then the other thing is that I want to, again, don't know yet how we're going to do it, but after realising TikTok, everything else, like social media, I've been known as, especially locally, as the Voice for Dads guy, right? Now that's because it's me that's the face of it. I don't want it to be that, but it's just me that's stepping up and doing videos at the moment, and it's always me that's kind of pushing it. And I found out that a lot of young people watch what we do, right? You'll be the same. They watch TikTok, they're on social media, whatever. And I thought, there's a you've got to act on that. There's something there, right? And I think some kind of no promotion, what's the word I'm looking for? But some kind of push needs to be done so that people can contact and reach out either to us or
Like
other
a hashtag or
organisations.
something.
Aye, but reach out if they can't go to their mum, if they think they're going to get lied to or just ignored or, nah, you don't want to do that. They can bypass them and reach out to folk like us to then find their dad and get in contact, even if it's just a mediation kind of meeting, and then talk. That's happened with Voice for Dads already. We've had that kind of scenario where it's like, reach out to us, we'll put you in touch with your dad, and you can realise for yourself.
See, that it's interesting you said about mediation. So that's like the introductory of the father. Because again, this was another thing that really put me off going through all this. So again, it was mainly my mental health, mate. Like I can't explain how much. Anyway, it was stressing me out, and she was stressing me out. And the mediation part. So see, when the lawyer told me, he says, see, once you do that, you'll need to do mediation, which is you introducing. And he says, what you'll need to do is you'll need to go to like these centres, right? And
Contact centres.
And I went, what do you mean? He went, you need to go through. I went, so he went, because you've went through this whole system. What do you mean? He says, I need a mediation to see my son and daughter that don't necessarily have anything, I've not done anything to them, and it doesn't.
And then supervised contact, that's another classic.
And I said, so what? And they went, well, you go into a centre, and I said, what kind of people will be there? What can be anybody? I went, what people that are alcoholics, junkies, all these kind of things. Well, that's a possibility. And I went, I'm sorry, but I wasn't brought up in that environment. And I said, damn as hell wouldn't have my children around about that environment, to be honest. Now, that's what I'm picturing in my head. It might be a totally different scenario, but why am I having to go into a centre like that when, I don't have any drug addict? I'm not a drug addict. I'm not an alcoholic. That doesn't, So again, it was like, I'm not willing to put my kids through that. For me, children are innocent. I think that adults and children's conversations should always be separate. Yep. Sometimes my kids would come back and say things, I'd be like, that's not for you to discuss, and me, that's for me and your mother to discuss. And again, but with this guy and this papa, it sounds all fantastic, but again, for me, I think we spoke earlier on, and I do think there is a war on men, and I'll touch on that. I say I do activism and stuff, my stuff regarding the COVID JAG. But you said earlier on about the truth, and one thing I'll stand on is the truth, and the truth is what I think needs to happen to make the world a better place, because I do think, Scott, we're in a world of lies. And yeah, my brain fog's kicked in there, absolutely ridiculous at the time. I can't even remember where I was going with that, but yeah, what was I saying there?
I'll say the war on men, right?
The war on men, that was it. The war on men.
There is no doubt that it would appear that there's a war on men when it comes to family courts and trying to be a dad. the Scottish government got back to us, right, and said that they advise that if a relationship breaks down, it should be 50-50 custody, right? That's what they advise, which I'm glad to hear, right? I'd be worried if they said anything other than that. But what they advise and what actually happens are two different things, because there's countries in the world where it's 100%. They split up 50-50. That's the way it should be, because that's what's best for the child. Scotland's still not there yet. But we can be.
You know why?
We can be. Scotland sometimes is a leader when it comes to implementing laws before other countries. But in this front, we're just miles behind.
Well, it's a business.
Well, yeah, we talk about that all the time in Voice for Dads.
It's a business. That's the thing. Like, you think all these... That's the other thing as well. I don't know how some of these lawyers can sleep at night knowing that, you know, they've taken away a good, hard-working father or whatever away from a kid. But they go back on what I was talking about, the war on men. I've noticed this in the last couple of days. Like I say, I was at a rally recently and I was speaking at it, and they call me all these names, Scott, but when you go against the narrative, that's what they're going to call you. And again, it's about the truth, and that's what I'll stand on. But I've started to hear this a lot of people. Now, I've done a video with this young girl, and I know it's a totally different subject, but this is when I was like, right, okay, this seems to be an issue. So this woman came on the stage, she was at the counter protest, and she stood up and went, it's not immigrants that are the problem, it's white men that are the problem. Then I played a video of a young girl who was outside a hotel, and she stayed across the road, and she was telling me how she's scared for her safety because she lives across from these people that have came from a different country, done by government, done by design, in my opinion. And so I'm sitting there and I've played this video, and you've got these people that are advocating for immigration and that, and they says it was basically I became the threat. And they went, of course I would be threatened if it was a man coming up to me with a camera. And I said, how did you flip that round? How could you flip that round from me?
The girl that you interviewed wasn't intimidated at all.
She wasn't intimidated at all. I approached her.
She was intimidated by the guys that are staying in a hotel from another country, who she said that her pals have phoned the police on several times because they're harassing her.
Exactly. So that's what I'm saying. So how did these people, these lefties, if you want to call it, how did they manage to turn around that I was the threat, the man with the camera? And I've been hearing this for a long time, and I interviewed Jims, which is Justice for Innocent Men Scotland. And when I heard what they said regarding the courts, and again, it seems like the same issues with the courts regarding what they're fighting for is the exact same when it comes to children. Mm-hmm. So it's like they don't want men to be men anymore, for us to stand up. And like I say, that when this happened to me regarding my kids, mate, I was number one, voiceless, and number two, didn't know where to turn. Mm-hmm. Didn't know where to turn, mate. Just shouting and arguing with myself and going, how can this happen, blah, blah, blah. But no, what you're doing here is a good thing to raise awareness. Let's talk about the law, mate. Do you know much about the law when it comes to this stuff?
No, I would definitely start by saying no, right? I'm not a legal voice in any way, shape or form. I'm just someone with lived experience. So if anything I pass comment on when it comes to the law, it should be taken with a pinch of salt because I'm not qualified. That's what I would say. But when it comes to lived experience, I can absolutely pass comment. And the amount of lawyers that I've dealt with in the last few years, and through Voice for Dads, then I can definitely pass a comment. Aye.
I think as well, like when I spoke to Jims, they were basically saying that there's lawyers that are not willing to take on cases when it comes to men and
legal aid cases.
I don't know what I said. They're saying that there's a certain lawyer, and it'd be interesting to see if he'd come up. But when it comes to women reporting on men with very little evidence, that he walked away from it. And his suggestion is that the lawyers actually start banding together to say, we're not willing to take these, if you've got a moral compass, and you think that you're going to put an innocent man behind bars for something he potentially didn't do, or lack of evidence, or nothing there solid, you know, then it's scary. It's scary to think that all it takes is for someone to say something, or, like you say, mate, they rob you and they rob a child of a father.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's mental.
For me, we always come at it from the angle of the child, because if I come at it purely from the angle of the dad or the mother, you just get folks shouting and moaning, and you know you've got the other side whinging. I'm not interested. Whatever they think of me, I couldn't care less. None of my business. But no one can, really criticise anyone for looking after children.
It's a trauma of the child as well. If you think about it, you hear these.
Lifelong.
But you think about it, like, you hear these things where people say daddy issues, right? And if you think about it, that child will think that their dad's rejected them. I never rejected my kids.
So again, I can pass comments that happened to me. So I grew up without my dad. Now only my dad's in my life. My mum isn't. She's still alive. Well, hopefully she's not. She's an awful, awful human being. But my dad's in my life. But I don't have a father-son relationship with him. I've got a distant mate relationship. And it'll never be anything other than that, unfortunately, because of the damage that was done years ago. And sometimes the damage can't be repaired. It's tragic.
Yeah. It's... I mean, are you allowed to touch on briefly how... how did this come about? Was it just a simple case of access denied? Was it similar to me, or was it like a build-up kind of thing? Was it a kind of...
No, I can't talk about my case just now, but I can use someone that's in a very similar situation. The amount of dads that I know just in central Scotland that are going through this, I can use one of them. His name's Ryan, and he was getting his kid, absolutely no bother at all, getting her every week, and it wasn't 50-50 like it should be, but he was getting to see her, and his ex pulled a stunt when his daughter went back to her mum, upset. She was distraught because she didn't want to leave her dad. So, I don't want to leave you. Goes back to the mum, all distressed, upset, what's going on. The mum twists it. She's suffered trauma in her dad's care. Access denied. No, the trauma was she didn't want to leave her dad. And that gets spun round to, oh no, she suffered trauma in his care. And then next thing, a week turns into a month turns into a year. A couple of years have passed. And now the wee girl doesn't want to see her dad. All because of the mum's actions. And the mum knew the whole time what she was doing. Disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. And so far, legal. All legal. Mm-hmm. If a parent goes up to their kid now and the kid's been a wee bastard, here you charged. That's you done.
100%.
But you can do all that. That's going to leave them with lifelong damage. And it's legal.
Yeah.
It's not right.
Can't disagree with it, mate. It's just, we'd go around in circles just saying the same things over and over, and
but it's not going to change overnight.
100%.
But it is going to change.
But if more fathers start to speak up,
if every dad in our situation came forward, now, in the coming months, coming years, come forward, go to their MPs, MSPs. I'm the first person. I told the MSPs when I met them what I think of MSPs and MPs. Nobody can be fucked with them. But go and see them and use them for what they get paid for. Because ultimately, changing the law so that when a marriage or relationship break down, it's ultimately 50-50 from the get-go. That'll help protect children.
Is that the change you want to see?
That's it.
What do you think, because there will be people out here that potentially have taken away their kid away from a certain member, a family member, because we need to play devil's advocate here, mate. There is people out there that aren't probably good fathers and that. What do you think the criteria should be, mate?
There's loads of deadbeat dads, loads of deadbeat mums. If the child's in danger, it's the only time it's acceptable. It's as simple as that. It doesn't get any more complicated. They could be living in a one-bedroom flat, they could be living in a mansion. They could be far more at risk living in a mansion than a one-bedroom flat. All that's materialistic is irrelevant. Is the child in danger? If the answer is yes from either parent, that's the only time it's acceptable. And that's as complicated as it needs to get.
Do you think that, let's say, you go through all of this trauma, because that's what it is, mate. I've been speaking to you for a while. To be honest with you, mate, you're probably like me, you're just numb to this. You've probably spent hours, days, crying, angry. Like, mate, I went through it all. Went through a point where I was probably drinking a bit much because of it, because I just wanted to get away from it. I was just numb. Don't get me wrong, I've never been an alcoholic, but I was probably just wanting to go out every weekend or whatever, because you get your kids every second weekend and you're just numbing it. And it's like I'm just numb to it now, mate. I'm just
Can you
numb.
imagine what you would do if a stranger or anyone hit your child?
Exactly.
You'd go to jail.
We don't have any protection now. We can't protect our kids anymore.
You'd go to jail. Whereas someone does it in front of you, smiling, going through the court, lying, with no accountability, no evidence, just making up stuff, getting away with it. Can he continue?
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing, because I say I watched my kids from afar, and, there was a point when my daughter, I understand, was bullied. I didn't know that. I didn't know my daughter was bullied. So, where am I? I hear this now. If I knew my daughter was getting bullied, do you think I would sit back and allow it to happen? I want to know why. I want to know where. I'd be going to school. I'd be pulling up the fucking the parents for a start and say, what the fuck's going on here? You hear that and you hear your daughter's went through that and you're like, what the fuck? So that's been taken away from me, the person that's supposed to protect.
Yep.
Do you think, let's say you go through all this, Scott, and the way it goes just now is you're going to spend, you're not allowed to talk about it, but I would imagine you like you say, you could have bought a house with it. This goes through. How many years are you looking at? If they give you an estimated number until you can see your kid?
I've got a rough idea, so I do, what's going to happen. And if it pans out the way that I think, not even hope, because I'd hope that it would never got to this, but the way I think, it'll be a few years that have been missed. In the grand scheme of things, I think back to my childhood, other people I speak to went through it and things like that. It's enough time that's passed to give lasting damage, but it's hopefully not that long that it can't be undone. But it'll be years of work to try and undo the damage that's been done.
Why does it get prolonged for so long? Do you know? Do you know why it's like a 3-year thing or a 4-year thing? Like I said, I knew a boy. By the time his daughter came back to him and he fought everything, the kid was ready to work and was nearly a fully grown adult. She was at the age where she could basically turn around and say, I want to see my dad. But he's just went through and been rinsed by the court, rinsed by his ex-partner. And now she's an adult and say, I want to see my dad.
Well, when a child's 12, that's when they get listened to more. So they do. Which I do agree with, younger than that, you're a child, you don't know what you want. You're getting told and you're getting coerced and you're getting lied to and made to believe things just aren't true. But when you're 12, that's when they take into account what you want more to happen. But the problem is how many dads will watch their kids or watch them from afar up until they're 12, be manipulated, coerced, controlled, lied to. So when 12 comes and they say, I don't want to see my dad, they are listened to and nothing the dad can do. Because all that time's passed where they've been abused. It's so wrong, so easy fixed, but it means I can a complete overhaul of a system that is so outdated. Spoke about this in a previous podcast and how in the courts they use a lot of language that they don't use outside court. A lot of Latin. So they do a lot of words that just you don't hear outside court. And that's because it was set up in Victorian times. But it's never changed.
What is the split? Because you say it's no. I know it's no 50-50. But is there a split, or is it just 100% female?
No, there isn't. There isn't a split in the law. There isn't 80-20, whatever. It doesn't exist. The Scottish Government just says they recommend 50-50. And then on each individual case, so case by case, depending on the sheriff you get, depending on the lawyers you've got, everything's unique. So there isn't across the board kind of start. I think the easiest way is, the law needs to change so that it's 50-50 for the start. But the sheriffs are the ones that have got the power. You know, I don't know how many sheriffs there is in Scotland. Not a lot.
It's funny because there's a massive, I would say there's quite a big jump in feminism these days as well. And, you know, it's kind of like, all right, we want equal pay, we want equal this, we want equal that. Okay, well, as fathers, we just want equal rights as much as the mother to look after. Because, again, when I sat down with that guy, he says, by law, you're just a provider. She's the one that owns that child. And I was sitting there going, that's nuts.
And I get why he said that. But it's not even in law. You know, that's not law. It's just the way it is. So there's nothing in black and white that says you have just as much rights as she does. But it just doesn't happen.
Do you think if this went through the courts, right, and everything, and then you get found you're allowed to see your kids, there must be a reason to why you're not allowed to see your kids, you know what I mean? Like, but for me, it was just simple case of access denied. You need to go through the courts, right? So there should be valid reason there, right? Now, let's say you go through the courts and everything. Those are 4 or 5 years you're never going to get back with your kid. Do you think there should be something in place? If we go through the right system, do you think there should be something in place for that mother? Do you think there should be some sort of punishment for them?
Absolutely. Because if there isn't a punishment, then what's the incentive to not do it? So there has to be a punishment. I think we can all agree. What that is, I don't know. Because as much as I know of a lot of dangerous mothers out there who really shouldn't be mothers, in my opinion, there's some right nasty people out there that don't put their kids first and they abuse their own children. And if you can abuse your own children, you're scum of the earth, in my opinion. But a child needs a mum and a dad. As much as my mum is an awful person, I needed her when I grew up, and I needed my dad, but she robbed that of me, you know. So now I'm still working actively to make sure my mum gets held accountable now. Because I'm an adult saying, this is what happened to me when I was a child. Yeah. What are you going to do about it? And even that's proven difficult. That's proven hard. As an adult saying, deal with her. What, because she's a woman, you're not going to deal with her? There needs to be some kind of punishment. I don't know what it would be, though. I don't know how that would look.
You see, like, you know, my story starts with the Jag being injured, like I said. Look, I don't think there's anything wrong with collaborating and speaking to other groups out there and getting understanding. And like I say, I'll always stand on the truth. But for me, when I spoke out regarding the harms of the Jags, and you know, we've spent over 50 grand, £50,000 to get me better. And the way I look at it is there's people out there that don't have that kind of money. You know what I mean? That's the thing. You've got to think of the people that don't have the money and don't have the resources, especially to fight this case. Aye,
that was one of the main factors why I started Voice for Dads, because it pained me so much thinking I was lucky, the situation I'm in. How many dads can't afford to fight for their kids, have to walk away because of money, and how many kids are suffering. How many kids don't have their dad in their life because of money? That's the bit I couldn't take. You know, it's awful to think like that. And whether it's Bring the Noise, whether it's gyms, whether it's Voice for Dads, any organisation, Andy's Man's Club, there's endless amounts of people you can reach out to now. We all want the same thing. So we do. Protect children. It's no hard. Everyone should want that. The truth. I've nothing to hide. All the guys involved in Voice for Dads have nothing to hide. That's another thing when it comes to representing yourself in court. A lot of dads are nervous. You know, it can be intimidating going to court, especially going up there standing talking and stuff. And it can be nerve-wracking. But see, when you've nothing to hide, I don't think it should be. Because you go in there and put your hands up and be like, I've not done anything wrong here. You know, most of the people we come across, it's the mums that have got everything to lose. It's the mums that have got everything to hide. Because they're worried they're going to get found out. So I just hope that dads keep that in mind. And if you're in a situation where, you know, you're fighting through the courts to see your kids, get in touch with us, because there's a lot of pointers we can give you. Because you'll jump straight to a solicitor. That's not always the best case. It's not always the best move.
We'll wrap this up soon, mate, because it's been a pretty good conversation, and we could probably talk for it. It's a shame that you're kind of, you know, chained, that you can't say much.
That's all for now, mate.
Aye.
I'm sitting here next year, and we'll aye.
I say, mate, bring the fucking noise.
Everything
mate.
will come out, so it will. And do you know the sad thing is, I think every week and every month passes, and I think, I can run out of things. How can we make a documentary on Voice for Dads? How can we do this and do that? I'm going to run out of things to talk about. It just keeps coming. You know, I suppose that's one thing I'm glad about. It's the gift that just keeps on giving. Because these women that do this just keep doing it.
Do you know what? This might be an idea. Maybe this might work. Who knows? See, if you're a child out there and you see this and you hear this and you want to see your mother and father or whatever it may be, maybe pick up your phone, put a TikTok and say, I want to see my dad. I want to see my other half of the family. I want to see my grandparents. But I'm not getting to see it because I'm a family member. Maybe that'll send a bigger and stronger message. And maybe more kids standing up and saying, I want to see my family.
Yep. That's all I need to do. Messages, because you can't hide it forever. You really can. And the podcast I'm doing soon with Darren Young. So a lot of people know Darren's story. I'm doing a podcast with his mum.
Terrible story.
So he's no longer here, and his wee girl, it's no far off the age of my wee girl, and the fact that she'll never have her dad ever, you know, never at birthdays, Christmas, walk her down the aisle, pass her driving test with her, nothing. All that's taken away from her. The day will come where that wee girl will find out, and countless other girls and boys like her, what was done to them as a child, what their mum done to their dad. And there's nothing that they can do to stop that day coming. No matter how many lies and bullshit things they come up with, stories, nothing they can do will stop that day coming. But it'd be better if it never had to come at all and she still had her dad.
Yeah,
that goes for so many other.
You grow up and then you realise that, you know, you get into relationships and you realise that, and you know, it's like that Eminem song. There's an Eminem song. And it was like, when I was just a little baby mama. And then he goes like, but then I found out she was a crazy man.
Aye.
Right? And then you go, like, fucking hell, man. That one makes a hell of a lot of sense when you go, no, I'm not sitting saying, listen, I've got a fantastic relationship with my mother. Like, you know, again, people forget, you know, you have kids at 21, 22. You're still a kid yourself. Don't kid yourself. You know, you think that, you had a kid at 21, 22. That's when I had my kids, mate. And I was still a young guy, you know. So, but again, just don't hold these kids back from having the best of both worlds.
Just put the kids first. It's not fucking hard.
Exactly, mate. Well, look, I appreciate you, mate. You got a fantastic studio here. I tell you what, I'm liking this. By the way, if anybody can see that, they bring the noise on the screen. I'm loving this.
Come back anytime, mate.
Who knows? I might be using this in the future. But honestly, man, like, just keep doing what you're doing, mate. And I said, if I knew this was about back in the day, at least I would know I wasn't alone. And then hopefully more fathers will see it. I'll put this on my channel. You put it on your channel.
Yep.
Like I say, mate, bring the fucking noise, man. Let's get the truth together and let's have a fair and just, good, honest justice system, man.
100%, mate. Couldn't say any better myself.
Appreciate it,
say
mate.
better myself.